A lone figure stands on the vast sun-scorched plains of the East African Rift Valley. The wind whips past, carrying the scent of dust and distant rain. The year is 3 million BCE. This is the story of our ancestors, the early hominids, and their relentless struggle for survival. It's a tale not of apex predators, but of a species constantly on the edge, clinging to existence by a thread of ingenuity and cooperation. We're used to seeing ourselves at the top of the food chain, but for a long time we weren't. We were prey. We were foragers. Our success wasn't in our strength or our speed. It was in our minds, our hands, and our ability to come together. Part 1. The dawn of adaptation in a world ruled by formidable beasts. Our ancestors, the early hominids, were not the hunters, but the hunted. They were small, relatively slow, and lacked the sharp claws or fangs of their predators. Their world was a constant tightrope walk between life and death. Every rustle in the tall savanna grass was a potential threat, every watering hole a place of immense danger. The very air they breathed was a testament to their vulnerability. But within this struggle, a new kind of intelligence was being forged. It was an intelligence born of necessity, not of leisure. Their environment was a brutal teacher. The climate was in a state of constant flux, swinging from lush, wet periods to long, unforgiving droughts. The once stable forests began to give way to vast open grasslands. This wasn't just a change in scenery. It was a fundamental shift in the rules of the game. For millions of years, our ancestors had been adapted for life in the trees, a world of fruits, leaves, and relative safety. Now, they were on the ground, exposed. They had to change or perish. The first great adaptation was bipedalism. Walking on two legs may seem like a simple change, but it was a revolutionary leap. It freed their hands, allowing them to carry things, food, tools, and infants. It also gave them a better vantage point to spot both predators and potential resources in the tall grass. But this was just the beginning. It wasn't enough to just stand tall. They needed to think tall as well. Part 2. The first tools. A new kind of hand narrator. Survival on the savanna demanded a new approach to diet. Fruits and leaves were no longer a guaranteed meal. The hominids had to become more opportunistic, more flexible. This led to a crucial innovation, one that would redefine their relationship with the world: the stone tool. This wasn't hunting, not in the traditional sense. It was scavenging. They would follow predators like lions and hyenas, waiting for them to finish their meal. When the coast was clear, the hominids would rush in, using their crude stone flakes to strip the last bits of meat and, most importantly, to smash open the bones to get to the nutrient-rich marrow. This was a game of timing, of courage, and of a completely new kind of intelligence, one that could see the potential in a simple rock. The ability to process food with tools had a cascading effect. It allowed them to access a wider range of resources, from tough plant tubers to the marrow of large animals. This increased protein and fat intake fueled a dramatic change in their physical form. Their brains began to grow, an expensive organ that required a constant supply of high-quality energy. The first tools, the simple old Allen choppers, weren't just about survival. They were the first step on the path to becoming truly human. Part 3. The social fabric of survival narrator. Alone, a hominid was no match for a saber-toothed cat or a giant hyena, but together, they were a force. The social structure of these early groups was as crucial to their survival as any tool. They weren't just living in proximity. They were cooperating in a way that set them apart from other primates. This practice of food sharing was a radical departure from the eat where you find it model of their ape relatives. It built trust and fostered a sense of community. It allowed for a division of labor. Some would forage for plants, others would scavenge for meat, and some would stay at the camp to care for the young and the old. This system ensured that even if one individual failed to find food, the group would not starve. It was a form of collective insurance against the harsh, unpredictable world. The home base, or camp, became a hub of activity. It was a safe place to rest, to process food, and to socialize. The prolonged childhood of hominid infants, a result of their large and developing brains, required more parental care and a stable environment. The group provided that. It was in these camps that knowledge was passed down from one generation to the next. The location of a good quarry for stone, the best way to crack a bone, the signs of a coming storm. The survival of the group depended on the wisdom of the elders. Part 4. The Climax. A World on Fire narrator. The story of early hominids is a slow, methodical march of adaptation. But every so often, a single, explosive event would accelerate the process. For our ancestors, one of the most transformative was the control of fire. The first hominids to control fire didn't invent it, they tamed it. They learned to capture it from lightning strikes or volcanic vents and keep it alive. This wasn't a casual skill. It was a revolution. Fire offered warmth, protection from predators, and most importantly, it allowed them to cook their food. Cooking broke down tough fibers in meat and plants, making them easier to digest and releasing more nutrients. This had a profound effect on their physical evolution. Their jaws and teeth became smaller, their guts shorter, and the energy once spent on digestion could now be redirected to their growing brains. It also marked a shift in their foraging strategies. They could now eat a wider variety of foods, even those that were previously toxic or inedible. Fire was more than a tool. It was a social anchor. It brought the group together at night, creating a central point for storytelling, social bonding, and the transmission of knowledge. It was around these hearths that the first seeds of complex communication and culture were likely sown. The control of fire didn't just warm their bodies, it ignited the very spark of what it meant to be human. It was the final piece of the puzzle, the key that unlocked our ancestors' potential to leave the savannah and begin their long, arduous journey across the globe.